What happens when the line between observer and participant blurs? When a fascination with darkness transforms into an uncontrollable impulse? I am Detective Obscura, and tonight, we will decode a chilling enigma that is the Idaho murders, a case that exposes the fragile nature of the human psyche. Moscow, Idaho, November 13th, 2022, a date that is now synonymous with unspeakable tragedy. The victims were Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. 4 vibrant lives were brutally taken from this world. To truly understand this case, we must dissect the events that unfolded, examine the evidence under a microscope, and attempt to decipher the mind of the accused. The trial is set to begin on August 11th, 2025. Will justice be served, or will shadows continue to obscure the truth? Let's open the timeline files to how this chilling murder spree began. Kaylee and Madison were inseparable best friends, and their futures were bright and promising. Xana and Ethan, a young couple, had their love story tragically cut short. Then there are the surviving roommates, Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funka, forever haunted by the events of that night. One of them, Dylan, reportedly heard noises and even saw a masked figure in the hallway. According to the affidavit, she heard cries and a male voice uttering, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Recently, a new thread was woven into this already complex tapestry. Evidence has surfaced regarding Bryan Kohberger's Amazon purchase history, painting a disturbing picture of premeditation. Prosecutors revealed that months before the murders, Kohberger purchased a K-bar knife and sheath, a chilling precursor to the carnage that would follow. This revelation adds another layer of darkness to the enigma, Bryan Kohberger, further solidifying the prosecution's case. What details might have been missed or misinterpreted in the aftermath? The timeline is a tangled web of fragmented memories and unanswered questions. November 12th, 2022. The victims spent the evening enjoying their lives. Goncalves and Mogen went to a bar while Kernodle and Chapin attended a fraternity event. In the early hours of November 13, the victims returned home around 1:45 a.m. Kernodle received a DoorDash order at approximately 4 a.m. Then shortly after, the roommate reported hearing noises. Mortensen allegedly saw a masked figure in the hallway around 4:30 a.m. Hours later, the surviving roommates, still trying to reach their housemates, exchanged frantic texts when they got no response. It wasn't until 7 hours later that 911 was finally called. The chilling 911 call made by the surviving roommates on the morning of November 13th, 2022, offers a haunting glimpse into the chaos and confusion that followed the brutal murders.
911 location of your emergency.
Hi, something is happening. Something's happening in our house. We don't know what.
One of the roommates has passed out, and she was drunk last night and she's not waking up. Okay. Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Is she breathing? No. Okay.
The call ended abruptly when first responders arrived at the scene. Authorities later determined that the victims were killed between 4 o'clock and 4:25 a.m., leaving critical questions about what transpired during the 7-hour gap before the call was made. What transpired during those missing hours? What secrets were hidden in the silence? The investigation was a relentless pursuit of elusive truth. But then a break. The DNA from a knife sheath found near Goncalves and Mogen's bodies matched Bryan Kohberger's genetic profile. Cell phone data placed him near the crime scene at the time of the murders. Surveillance footage showed his car, a white Hyundai Elantra, near the residence during the early morning hours. Bryan Kohberger, a 28-year-old criminology Ph.D. student at Washington State University, was arrested on December 30th, 2022.
Hello. How you doing? How y'all doing today? Good, good. Take a look at your driver's license real quick if I could.
A student studying the criminal mind is now accused of committing the ultimate crime. Kohberger's past is a complex mosaic of mental health struggles, social awkwardness, and a possible obsession with violence. From an early age, he was battling depression and anxiety. He also suffered from visual snow syndrome, which causes persistent visual disturbances and may contribute to derealization and depersonalization. What toll did these factors take on his developing mind? In old forum posts verified by investigators, Kohberger expressed feelings of emotional numbness, describing life as unreal or like a video game. He admitted to having crazy thoughts, delusions of grandeur, and little remorse for his actions. He struggled with social interactions and described himself as mean toward his family. But were these just the ramblings of a troubled mind, or were they warning signs of something more sinister? Some believe Kohberger harbored a deep-seated resentment toward popular women and desired revenge against those he perceived as socially superior. Others speculate that, as a criminology student, he sought intellectual validation by executing an elaborate crime that showcased his understanding of criminal behavior. Experts suggest that Kohberger exhibits traits consistent with sociopathy or psychopathy, the lack of empathy or remorse, emotional detachment, and an obsession with control and intellectual superiority. His history of bullying, both as a victim and aggressor, also points to deeply rooted insecurities that may have contributed to his violent tendencies. And let's not forget the Instagram activities. Adding another layer to the complexity, Kohberger liked Maddie Mogen's posts. The speculations began that Kohberger had targeted her. But does an Instagram like automatically indicate plans for a murder? Bryan Kohberger's defense team has introduced an autism spectrum disorder, or A.S.D. diagnosis, as a central element of their legal strategy, with significant psychological and legal implications. A neuropsychological evaluation identified Kohberger as exhibiting core A.S.D. traits, including rigid thinking, perseveration on specific topics, and difficulty processing social cues. These traits manifest in behaviors such as distractibility, overly formal language, and limited insight into his own emotions. Kohberger's lawyers are leveraging his A.S.D. diagnosis to preclude the death penalty, citing Atkins v. Virginia, 2002. They assert that people with A.S.D. share the diminished culpability of intellectually disabled individuals, making execution unconstitutional under the Eighth Amendment. But does A.S.D. truly negate the element of premeditation required for a first-degree murder conviction? Or is this a strategic maneuver to avoid the ultimate punishment? The legal implications are complex. Courts have inconsistently treated A.S.D., with some judges viewing it as mitigating and others dismissing it as irrelevant. This case could set a precedent for how A.S.D. is framed in death penalty litigation, balancing constitutional protections against societal demands for retribution. We've explored the timeline, the evidence, and the background of the accused. Bryan Kohberger, a cold-blooded killer, driven by dark impulses and a twisted sense of intellectual superiority? Or was he a troubled individual, a victim of his psychological struggles, caught in a web of circumstance and misinterpreted evidence? Or could there be a factor outside of Bryan? Was there another party involved in the pre-planning? It's crucial to remember that correlation does not equal causation. While the evidence may seem compelling, it's vital to avoid jumping to conclusions. This case is a disturbing reminder of the fragility of the human mind and the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary lives. We must await the trial and the presentation of all evidence before forming definitive judgments. What are your thoughts on this case? Share your theories in the comments below. Could Kohberger's background as a criminology student have fueled his alleged crime? Is the A.S.D. defense a legitimate strategy or a manipulation of the legal system? And what secrets still linger in the shadows of that ruined house in Moscow, Idaho? Remember to like this video and subscribe for more in-depth investigations into the criminal mind. Stay tuned, because our next declassification promises to be even more unsettling. Stay curious. Stay safe.